What's going on, guys? Got another knife review here for you. This is a knife that was very intriguing to me when I first saw it come out at Blade, I think 2013. Actually, it might have been out maybe a little bit longer, maybe from SHOT Show or whatnot. But this is the CRKT. I know this is a knife that you don't typically see on my channel. I think the only other CRKT I've ever reviewed was the CRKT Drifter, also a stainless steel frame lock knife with tip down pocket clip. Not sure if there was a designer for that or if that was just straight up CRKT design, but this is a Ken Onion design featuring IKBS on it, so similar to the Ripple. Also, well, there's a liner lock version of the Ripple, and then there's frame lock version of the Ripple. I've never owned a Ripple, so but I have flicked one out. Actually was quite surprised with how smooth that knife was, but that pocket clip on the Ripple I just can't get past. One, tip down, and two, it looks like an old piece of metal that was taken off from like one of those I don't know. Anyway, so butt ugly pocket clip in my opinion. Overall frame design, not that bad. And blade shape was not that bad. So I've been thinking about the Swindle back and forth, and I know that it's not typically a knife that I would carry or have in my collection, but it intrigued me enough that I really wanted to get it. I really wanted to review it. I really wanted to see what I would think about this knife, and I'll say quite honestly, I actually like it. It is a very intuitive knife, kind of. It did win 2013 Blade Show's Innovative Import Knife of the Year. So this is one that's made in China, but Ken Onion design and marketed by CRKT and all that stuff. So this one also does happen to be a first production run. I got this one from Blade Ops, so I found, I got connected through their YouTube channel, and yeah, if you're a first-time customer, you get like 10% off and those things. I'm not like endorsing whatever, and I typically get most of my knives off the forums, but it was a pretty smooth transaction, so I was quite impressed by that. So little shout out to Blade Ops, good store to buy from. So anyway, really quick size comparison right here. You got the Skyline from Kershaw. This is the custom Julius Shoup SF2 Hyperion. Here is the Sanran Mu 710, also stainless steel frame lock, which is why I brought this one out here. You got the Tried and True Sabenza, and then the Tenacious from Spyderco. So this one, there's two versions of the Swindle, and they're both stainless steel frame locks. One is the smooth one, and that features 8CR13 MOV, either that steel or AUS 8 steel, one of those two. I'm pretty sure, I think it's 8CR. And then this one, the groove pattern one, is slightly more expensive, and this one features the 12C27 Sandvik steel. So in my opinion, this is a much better steel than 8CR 13 MOV. Holds an edge better. You can get both of them extremely sharp, that's for sure. But better wear resistance and things on the Sandvik steel in general. So this being the same steel as, I believe, the Skyline, and this one, from everything I've seen, actually holds a pretty good edge and sharpens up very nicely. Obviously, the one thing about the Swindle is the pocket clip, and this is a Ken Onion innovation design. I wanted to see how this pocket clip fared, and it was just such a weird design, because I'm thinking, in the pocket, so if your right hand pocket carry on this side, my inclination is to think that it would wrap around the pocket and then either sit in the pocket this way, so it'd be bulky in the sense that it would rest here, or it would naturally sit in the pocket this way, so the blade sitting tip up on the inside. So if you reach your hand in, there is the possibility somehow of this pushing open and then coming down and grabbing your hand. But what I've found is that this pocket clip, after you put it in, will then naturally, as you put it in your pocket, no matter what kind of pocket you have, actually turns it in this way. Or it's either sitting in this way or it turns it here and just naturally will have the tip just like any other pocket clip. So, you know, with that tip blade inside onto the side of your pocket right here. And then when you pull out the pocket clip, all you do is grab on here, and there's not jimping, but there's texture on these thumb studs, if you will. And you just pull up ever so slightly. You don't want to pull up from here from the knife. I mean, you can, but it'll kind of tug at your pocket. But if you just grab here from your pocket, it'll just slide right out, actually quite comfortably. And then in that motion, then you can deploy it like that. So with that IKBS running, extremely smooth, very fast deployment, very lightweight blade. But, you know, overall, this knife is still just under 4 ounces, so 3.95 ounces for a knife that's pretty small. I mean, 3¼ inch blade, but again, this is hollow ground, so it makes for a great slicer. But this steel frame, you know, it's not milled out in any way inside. Looks extremely thin. Say if you compare it to even the Skyline right here, looks thin, but that full steel construction makes it pretty heavy. It's like surprisingly, it's very dense is what it is, you know. So if this was titanium, obviously it's going to be way more expensive, but it would, you know, make it substantially lighter. But as it is, you know, not that light or not that heavy, doesn't necessarily make it that uncomfortable. So, you know, knives this small, I don't know. I mean, that stainless steel option to make it cheap is a viable option for sure. And I don't think it necessarily takes that much away from, you know, not having a titanium frame lock. So, so again, pocket clip, very functional. Jimping on top, very functional. Flipper, very, very functional. IKBS, you know, running in a knife this cheap at like $40, $45. Very nice. In reverse grip, you also have this jimping on the back. Right there. So also very comfortable to grab hold of as if you are in reverse grip. This is not a, you know, tactical blade by any, you know, way of the imagination. Blade stock is actually not bad at 0.12 inches, so just slightly thinner than a Sebenza's blade. But obviously it tapers to a very thin edge. And that grind, the hollow grind, is extremely thin, very thin at the edge, so it makes for a great slicer. Now here's the interesting thing. Oh, and also really quick, the cutout here for deployment, actuation of the lock, very nice. It's actually very easy. So very easy to deploy and actuate the lock. Lockup is honestly perfect at 30-40% maybe, you know. So CRKT, I mean, I don't know, they're stepping up their game. Not that I'm, you know, interested in getting a lot of knives. This is just one of the few, especially Ken Onion designs. I'm not a huge Ken Onion fan. His curves and all the wacky designs, not that into, but this one I was pretty intrigued by. So here's the one I'll say, like, kind of downside of the Swindle. Look at this shape. When you look at all these blades, BTF kind of says it on a lot of his knives, they all have typically this negative angle. You know, it's very easy to use. When your hand is in position, the blade is pointing down, easy to cut. No matter which one you're looking at here, that blade cuts down, reaches down, Sebenza down. You know, here's my Hinder, especially, you know, with negative angle. You know, your hand is in that position, it's down. So The Swindle, though, I mean, look how far that blade comes up. You know, so you really have to push, you really have to turn your hand down in order to get that blade down. You know, so that's a really interesting, like when I, in this position right here, you know, it's really it's like really uncomfortable for my hand. I'm really pushing my wrist down this way in order to get the tip, you know, or even the belly, because it's somewhat it's basically a Wharncliffe blade, you know, but a Wharncliffe blade that's angled up like this, you know, not even straight, it's up. So, you know, that's kind of a weird thing. Is it going to perform its utilities? You know, fine. Yeah, it is. Well, see, like even like from here, like normally if I'm cutting, you know, I don't have to turn. I just slice down like this. My wrist is in a very neutral, comfortable position. With the Swindle, like it's up. It's facing this way rather than, you know, down this way. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know, so in a sense, it's got a very it's got a positive angle, you know, versus that negative angle normally cutting. You know, again, Sebenza, it's just everything is negative, tenacious, negative. You know, so yeah. So anyway, that's a slight. I don't even want to say a knock on the Swindle, but it is somewhat of a concern when I'm thinking of, you know, the design and the shape and just even the comfortable usage of this knife. So we'll see. I mean, I might try to, like, you know, strip down boxes with this and see how it does. You know, this small of a knife, see how that edge holds with the Sandvik steel. And I'll come back to you with that. This is, you know, this is a knife that's, it's not like a collector's piece, but it's definitely a cool knife to have. It's fun as heck to play with. I just flip this one out all the time. You know, these Ken Onions, you know, small knives, the Ripples and this one, and maybe even the Arrows, you know, they're all really fun to flip. Very comfortable. The IKBS works perfectly with these, you know, small little blades. My Seamus Author, I don't have it with me right now, but that small tiny knife with IKBS, it flips out perfectly. So, you know, bearings really make a huge difference on these knives now. So anyway, I did bring out this knife here, you know, with the steel. You know, this is another example. You know, the San Remo 710, the steel blade. You know, this is just running on phosphor bronze washers as well. You know, definitely plenty smooth, but also somewhat hefty, you know, compared to, say, a small Sebenza, things like that. All right, so anyway, that's my take on the CRKT Ken Onion Swindle. Overall, a pretty cool knife, but again, I mean, look at that blade, how it comes up compared to all these other knives. You know, and this is with the handle in a level neutral position. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Definitely appreciate it so much, and I'll see you guys on the next vid. Take care. Bye.